Welcome back to Heart with me, Shakti Sundari. We're still here in beautiful Bali, and we're just about to speak with Christabel Zamor, who's the most incredible breathwork facilitator, the creator of Breathfest, and of the amazing tantric, shamanic, ecstatic breathwork experience, Breath of Bliss. Welcome, Christabel.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yes.
So, you have created this whole new concept of Breath of Bliss. Tell us about what that encompasses.
Breath of Bliss is really a presence practice. I have a background in ecstatic movement, ecstatic dance for 12 years, and I trained teachers in that for a long time. And when I first experienced breathwork, it completely changed my life. I felt these incredible surges of love move through me that were like nothing else I had ever experienced when I wasn't under the influence of a substance. And that began for me what's turning into a lifelong passion for breath. And so what I've done is I've created a group program that pulls in all these other elements that I'm so passionate about with ecstatic dance and tantra and shamanism, and creates about an hour-long ceremony for people to enjoy, which has eye gazing, it has touch, deep sharing, movement, and then we lie down for this connected breath journey. And it's a powerful way to come into your body and connect to yourself and other people.
So I'm curious, so you were already teaching ecstatic movement practice, you said you've been doing that for 12 years.
Yeah.
And then how did you come across breathwork? What took you into that yourself?
Well, it was interesting because I was already training teachers in the movement form I created back then. It was called Hoop Girl. I was training hoop dancers. And I worked with 700 teachers around the world. And what we did was we were always emphasizing synchronizing the breath with the movement. So I already had this background in that somatic awareness and expanding consciousness and moving through energetic blocks with movement. And I wasn't planning on breath work. It kind of happened to me. I was brought to a workshop, and at that time I was married in a kind of an unhappy marriage, but really out of touch with my emotions. And that breath work really helped me realize the extent of my suppressed feelings. And you know, once those started coming out and I saw the complete misalignment of my life with my values, I had to make huge changes. And so I just kept doing as much breath work as I could. And I worked with Dana and Ashana of Clarity Breathwork. And I had the joy, I took all their trainings that I could, and then I kind of got to this point and said, what's the next step? I'd love to create a group training for you because I work with groups. And they were like, we don't want to work with groups, but bless you, go create. And I kind of flew off here to Bali and started creating and leading groups, and then creating a training, and now we have 62 teachers around the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how long has it gone from like that concept to where you are now?
Well, I came to Bali about 4.5 years ago, and I was teaching in intimacy circles and women's circles before, but not on the scale of Bali. Bali is hungry for breath work. We have so many spiritual tourists who come through, and the movement has exploded, and it's become an epicenter of breath work here now. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, what I'm curious to know, and especially for people who might be watching this who don't know, when you say breathwork, just like take it right back really simply, what does that mean? Because of course we all breathe.
Yeah, and there's many styles of breathwork. Yeah. So when I mention breathwork, I'm actually referring to a style of circular connected breath, where the inhale is connected to the exhale, and the exhale to the inhale without any pauses. So it just loops into itself again and again.
Can you demonstrate it?
Yeah, let's do it together. Yeah. So just a few things before we begin. The inhale is ripe and passionate and round. It's almost as if you'd been hiking to the top of a mountain, and then you got to the top and you saw the most amazing view of your life. That's how you inhale. And then the exhale is a complete letting go. like you've just had the best orgasm of your life. So here we go. We'll just connect them.
Oh, and also, is it through the nose or
It's
the mouth?
all through the mouth.
Always through the mouth.
Yeah. And it continues like this. And the faster and the fuller you breathe, generally the bigger the experience is in the body. And we breathe through the mouth instead of the nose, because when we do that mouth breathing, it actually allows the release of suppressed memories in the body, suppressed emotions, toxins. We release about 70% of our toxins through the exhale. So all these things start happening. It starts stimulating the release of dimethyltryptamine through the pineal and pituitary glands.
So impressed you can say that.
Well, it's an extraordinary thing, you know. I mean,
So what is that?
Okay.
You say the word again because I can't say it.
okay, some people call it just DMT.
DMT, thank
DMT,
you. Yeah.
which stands for dimethyltryptamine. And that's the active ingredient of ayahuasca and of LSD and many other sensory enhancing, mind altering substances that expand your perception and increase your ability to feel a sense of oneness with everyone and everything. And for me, this is extraordinary that we can generate from within our body naturally a peak experience of oneness. For me, is the path to world peace, you know, and the path to health, because so many people are into plant medicines now, and they're beautiful, and they also, you know, they take some of their own purification afterwards, and you know, movement. And so this is a way that we can organically generate these extraordinary experiences.
Absolutely. So I noticed, just as a practical question for me, because I'm a trained yogi, so my way of breathing is, I'm kind of very focused on breathing a lot slower, breathing through my nose and pausing at the top and the bottom of the breath. So I have to really make myself do it. I mean, I can do it consciously, but it's a real shift from that yogic way of breathing that I'm so trained in.
It's totally different than pranayama. And a great analogy, if you think about, imagine I'm holding a glass of water, and we just stirred in some dirt from outside. And this is kind of our consciousness, and the dirt maybe is limiting core beliefs. So when we do pranayama, it's incredible because it promotes this like incredible sense of transcendence and stillness and clarity. So it's like it allows all the dirt to fall to the bottom of the glass. So there's clarity, you can see through the water. But when we do this kind of breath work, what happens is it actually like takes the dirt up out of the water. So as you can imagine, the water gets really cloudy as you're pulling the dirt up, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? And so it creates this very stimulated, releasing experience that's quite different than yoga. And it takes practice, and it becomes easier with time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how, you know, because again, for somebody who might be watching this and thinking, oh, breathing, how on earth can just breathing lead to a release of emotions or trauma or an understanding of where I'm limited in my life? How does that happen?
Well, there's so many factors happening. In Breath of Bliss particularly, because we have so many elements to our ceremony. So first of all, because we create a pre-paving, I like to call it, before you're even in the breath work, we lay the foundation for the heart to melt open. So in these deep tantric sharing exercises where people are gazing with each other, they're revealing and speaking, often revealing things they might rather hide from others, diving into vulnerability. You know, they're already tearing up, they're already melting open, you know, moving their bodies, it's also opening them. And so the touch, it's softening the nervous system. And so by the time they even lie down, they're quite ready to dive deeper. And then between the music and the voice and the words said are so key to invite people to let go. And then on top of all of that is the actual breathing. And so when we breathe in that way and the body starts releasing and letting go, it's a very profound experience of emotional liberation. Yeah.
How fast can it be from beginning that breath work to people experiencing those kind of releases?
Some people go, I mean, I've had people within 3 minutes of starting a breathwork burst into tears. It's so fast, and the body is so self-regulating. You know, when we breathe in this passionate way, it liberates the animal body to let go of the stress and the anxiety and just the collective fear that I think a lot of us accumulate through exposure to media and, you know, family issues and, you know, modern society, relationships, all of it. Yeah.
Is there any level on which it could be too much for somebody, or re-traumatizing or something like that, because if all these emotions and feelings are coming up without knowing what it might be?
Yeah. It's a great question. And that's part of why we have a facilitator training program, because it takes a certain level of presence and awareness to know how to set up the space and literally program the space for what is going to emerge, but then also how to invite people to go into their emotional material, but actually not go towards what we call catharsis. So this cyclical release of adrenaline in the body that can happen when people just get into a cycle of yelling or screaming or crying, which takes them so far out of the breath. Crying is beautiful, but that kind of heaving, sobbing without the breath, like this is actually sort of revving the nervous system on a hyper vigilant state of activation. And we want to invite the release, but we don't want the adrenaline to be dumping in the body. And so there's a very particular way as a facilitator to create and hold the space to allow that to happen in a safe way. Yeah. I mean, there's precautions, certainly, like extremely pregnant women, people who've recently had surgeries and such. Like there's a few contraindications, but it's generally safe for everybody.
Sure. And of course, we've talked a little bit about emotions and all that sort of crying, but of course, a big part of the experience is ecstasy.
Yes.
So how does that happen? What kind of states do you see people shift into?
Well, I want to, this brings up something really interesting for me I'd love to share, is that I think the consciousness of the people breathing is so profoundly impacted by the facilitation and the consciousness of the facilitator. And so every teacher brings so many interesting things, but I think for me, grooming facilitators who have accessed that place of bliss within themselves, no matter whether they're feeling the anger or the jealousy or the shame or the rage or the sadness, like that actually allows them to invite other people to that place. I've been in certain breathworks that all breathworks don't generate ecstasy. They don't all generate bliss. You know, it's different in every experience. The music impacts it, the words spoken. But when it does come to that place of ecstasy, I think what creates that most is it's creating the conditions within which it's most likely to occur for me. And as a facilitator, I want to generate ecstasy. And I don't have an intention for people to feel any particular emotion or not. Like, I don't want them to only feel joy and not pain. My wish is that they will feel everything and they'll find the ecstasy in that. So I find pieces of music. I say things to give permission even to the resistance in the room. I use elements of NLP and hypnosis in my teaching, and I train my teachers to do the same. So we're constantly bringing breathers deeper into the realms of the unconscious. I have a background in depth psychology and mythology from Pacifica Graduate Institute. So like there's I bring all these sort of deeper psychological elements into it to invite that letting go, just letting go into being human.
So interesting that you mentioned resistance.
Yeah.
So what kind of resistances do you see?
There's so much resistance. We know. Have you ever gone to a workshop and the teacher asks you to do something and you just sort of like, I don't really feel like hugging right now, or, me too. And that's my greatest teaching, is when I go to other teachers' workshops and I feel resistance, it teaches me to remember, oh yeah, people coming to my workshop probably feel it too. They feel it about everything. Like, you might just say something in your introduction that's a one word or one phrase that turns someone off or alienates them. So right there, instant resistance. Or maybe in a movement, you called it dance and someone's not a dancer and they're like, I'm not a part of this, forget it. And then when you get to the eye gazing, maybe you say something in a way that doesn't create safety, so someone checks out. In the breath work, you play a piece of music that scares someone because it's too intense without holding that, or there's scary sounds happening because people aren't used to emotional release. So then they shut down their breath. It's like, for me, it's fascinating as a trainer to kind of study all these different moments we shut down and think, how can we create the conditions for people to relax, open? And that's all about giving permission, you know? So when I'm leading and when I train other people to lead, it's all about how can you just allow people to be as they are and feel okay, even if they don't feel a part of what's going on, or they don't feel ready for it today, or they don't feel good enough in some way.
Yeah. And then in terms of the work that you're doing, what changes do you notice in people who take your course, who study with you, who take your workshops? What sort of changes do you notice in particular?
That's a big question. I mean, it is life-changing. I really feel that is a truthful and accurate description of what I've witnessed in people. I've seen people come in who are CEOs from corporations and software companies, and then abandon their whole career, leave their relationship, move to another country and become breathwork facilitators, you know, or completely transform their health and well-being. I had someone come with dengue fever one day who said it miraculously helped her move that through her body within days. You know, like, there's so many profound things you get to witness. But I think the truth is that the most moving one is when watching the people who move from resistance to like complete teary openness, that melting open. Yeah, I think that's the most personally touching, is when I witness that.
And then another question I have is, does it sustain? You know, because I've done loads of workshops here, there, everywhere, and one thing I began to notice in myself and others at times is that we would go to these wonderful workshops, we'd open our hearts, we'd love everybody, we'd love the universe, and we'd go back to our everyday lives, and things would gradually shut down again, and we'd get back into the same patterns. So...
Does it sustain?
Does it sustain?
That's a great question. My feeling is that the probability of it sustaining increases when we give more attention as facilitators to integration. And so that's why, for me, integration is of primary importance. I spend a lot of time studying somatics and how we can bring coherence to the body, how we can boost resilience by adding things like journaling as part of the experience, follow-up experiences, inviting people back, inviting them to contact me, you know, over time, and letting me know how I can support them. And even most importantly, connecting them with each other and giving that permission so that they can start really forming honest relationships as a result of coming to workshops, and not just leaving, you know, into an isolated state like how they might have come. So yeah, I think over time, and it's like everything, the more you do it, it's like building a muscle. And that's why I'm devoting my life to it, because of all the practices I've done, I feel like incrementally it does change me. It does open me to however I am and help me melt that resistance away. Yeah.
And I guess you kind of explained this, but I'll just ask to see if there's anything else there. Is this why you are so passionate about it?
Why am I passionate about it? It's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. To personally feel access to my, you know, when you do it, you can really have these profound experiences to the non-physical realm, you know, and I've had these experiences with loved ones who have passed on that are so real and so powerful, these messages. And I really feel like as you know, in today, to be able to access that kind of clarity in communication it's unbelievable for me. And so I'm passionate about it because of that. I'm passionate about it because watching students become facilitators and then changing the lives of thousands of people is an honor. Having students surpass me and learning from them is an honor. Like I feel like being able to devote my life to the ecstatic arts. I mean, this is look where I am. We're in Bali. I'm focusing on ecstasy, you know, aliveness, embodiment. I feel like this is living the dream.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how does your vision for this expand into the future? Like, what's next?
What's next? I have so many things that are next. Well, the first is the CD that I just created, the I Am Love CD. This is part of the integration, right? So you asked how can people sustain over time, and I have a lot of students asking me that. So I wanted to create something that people could use at home, whether they've been to the workshop or not, and have a complete, coherent, and supportive breathwork journey, and have that same intensity of experience at home or with loved ones. So it's my dream to actually create a whole library of digital downloads like this, all with different themes. So I'm getting this out there now. And I've also just created an online course called Feel More Ecstasy, and it's a 10-day breathwork challenge. And that's coming out in June, and I am so excited to just spread that around the world. And for people who've done that and then they're ready for a deeper dive, but they can't come to Bali, they can do that.
So you're based here permanently now?
Well, I'm moving. You know, I love exotic tropical islands. That's my passion. Yeah. So right now I'm here and I'm loving it. And then there's Breathfest, this one-day pop-up mobile global breathwork festival I've just created.
So what is it? Can you tell us about that?
So last year in a breathwork, I had this incredible vision come in of a mobile global festival that was 1 to 2 days that would just pop up after other transformational festivals, like as the next day event. And because I go and I travel and teach at so many of these, and I thought, why not just bring all the Breath of Bliss faculty and students and showcase them? Because for me, that's my passion, is empowering people to leadership, heart-centered leadership. So I sort of use my visibility and I use my momentum, and I create a platform for them, and it's often in places I'm not going to be living at that this will happen, but they're there, train them and showcase them, and then they can promote all their workshops, and then the movement exponentially grows in every epicenter we plant. And every breathwork festival will have transformational music. This time we had African song and dance and chanting, we had ecstatic dance, we had Taoist energy practices, Breath of Bliss ceremonies, we had music by Elijah Ray and Noelani Love, we had a cacao ceremony with Gemma Gond, just all of these collective practices that bring people together in tribe. So, yeah.
The music I'm curious about, do you have a particular affinity with or co-creation with particular musicians?
Yes.
Are you a musician yourself? Like, what is your connection to the music? You've mentioned it a few times.
Yeah, well, I do have a producer who did help me with this CD and who I'm working with more and more, Benjamin Last, also known as Ben Templestep. And he gets me. And he just understands that we have a template in Breath of Bliss, a particular arc that inspires a lot of the music selection, and he completely understands that. He's also very experienced as a shaman in transpersonal psychology and transformation, and so he composes original music to my words that elicits that physical response of letting go and feeling more alive. And so we're doing a lot of projects right now. He records a lot of my festival workshops and then puts live music underneath, and we're making more CDs and things like that. Live events, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Best place is breathbliss.com, the website. And that portal has a free download for joining the newsletter. So right away you'll get my 4 minutes to ecstasy meditation, which I would love you to have and try out. And then there's pages with all kinds of information about digital download of the DVD, CD, and the online program, teacher trainings, and everything. Yeah.
Your passion and embodiment of everything you've talked about is so evident. It's been wonderful to just share that with you. You know, I feel it. It's so true, and it's really inspiring. And obviously your work is very much about love and heart and ecstasy. So I'd love to ask, is there a message that you have that you'd like to share with all our viewers, with the world, about something that's really meaningful to you, to your heart?
Well, my message is actually that it's okay to not feel love, actually. And it's okay to not feel ecstasy. And that's why I've created all of these things. I've created all of these things as my own medicine, because I have so many moments of feeling vulnerable and alone and disconnected. I'm not just on some lotus blossom sitting here in an awakened state. And I don't advocate that. We're human and we're here to be alive. And you know, these practices, Breath of Bliss, is all about being okay with yourself when you're as you are, and letting go of the resistance of being angry or sad or disappointed or critical. And that's where the love really comes in. It's like when we can soften and just embrace our upset inner child or disappointed self. So my message is really just to love yourself as you are, and perhaps let go of the expectation that you should be the way someone else is or the way you think they are. And just see how many parts of you are hungry for your own love. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your energy, your inspiration. Everything that you're doing is just incredible. Keep on expanding. Keep on spreading the love and the joy. Thank you so very much. And thank you for watching. Join me again next time here on Heart to Heart with me, Shakti Sundari.